Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 65 of the All Dolphins podcast. And we have to start off with me making a confession. I'm ashamed of myself.
You cheated.
I was completely drawing a blank on 65. So I had to look at my research and to come up with somebody. I'm ashamed. Anyway, Jeff Dellenbach's a guy who probably would stand out here for two reasons. Number one, and it's like, how can I not remember Jeff Dellenbach? Sorry, Jeff. He was one of those guys who played practically everywhere on the offensive line. I believe he played every spot except for left tackle. And somebody can correct me if he actually did play left tackle, but very versatile. And also, for those of you who remember the famous Thanksgiving 1993 game against the Cowboys, the Leon-led game, Jeff Dellenbach was the one who recovered the loose ball after the Cowboys blocked the kick. It rolled downfield, and Leon-led decided it would be a good idea to try to scoop it up. And he wound up sliding. It went off his foot, and it became a live ball. Dellenbach recovers. Pete Stoyanovich gets a second shot, kicks a short field goal. Dolphins pull off the 16-14 upset on Thanksgiving Day.
Shame on you. Shame on you for needing assistance. Oh, my God. What can I expect on 66? Will it be pure or will it be assisted?
66 is a Hall of Famer, so that's going to be easy. That one I would have no. I might as well quit if I can't remember a 66.
I would have no idea who you're talking about.
Well, you'll find out tomorrow, won't you?
Yes, I will.
Happy Labor Day, everyone, and for us, labor means working. It is Monday, September 4th. The Dolphins were back at practice the Monday before the start of the regular season.
Keeping their regular routine of working Monday, day off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, walk through Saturday. It is what it is. This is the NFL, baby. It's time to rock. Which is why I've never really understood what Labor Day was, because no matter what, for the last 25 years, I've been working on Labor Day weekend.
Correct. Yeah, it was like Labor Day.
It's the start of the football season. Yeah.
Holiday, really? Well, the only difference between this week and other weeks, on Monday is usually on Monday they won't have a practice. It'll be like film and recovery and treatment and stuff like that. Today was actually a practice. It wasn't very long. It was light. We can start off by saying there were three players we did not see at practice today. We did not see practicing, I should say. The big name, obviously, tackle Terron Armstead. The other two were two defensive backs, special teams guys, Justin Bethel and Elijah Campbell, who both are dealing with knee injuries. Terron Armstead, not a surprise that he's not out there. Obviously, it would be much nicer if he were out there.
Yeah, and let's get into this, because I didn't know this until you and my media cohorts educated me on the fact that Terron rarely practiced last year.
Correct.
And I didn't know it. I saw him, I wasn't paying attention to the team as closely as I am right now. And you'd see him on Sunday and it'd be like, whoa, this guy's a difference maker, even though he's not playing at 100%. He really did that without practicing?
Yep. And you look at his practice participation chart, it was on a whole lot of DNP, limited sometimes on Friday. And then he would invariably on Friday be listed as questionable, sometimes even doubtful. And it's, and then you'd wait for the practice squad elevations on Saturday. Oh, they didn't elevate an offensive lineman. That's a good sign. Terron's playing, and then Sunday morning you would get the confirmation he is indeed playing. But that was a pattern, and be nice if it would stop after this week. But yeah. That was kind of a sarcastic laugh. We got
hey, man. And I hate to bring this up because he's a very good player, but this is what happens when you sign injury-prone players. Correct. And the reality is, if he makes it to game day without practicing and plays at this level, I have no issues with it. Correct. And I said the week of the Houston practice, no, he needs to practice 2 days in a row, and look what happened. Like, I'm out. Like,
it was your fault, basically.
I take full ownership and responsibility for Terron Armstead being hurt. I was like, I looked at I forget who was it said it to me. Like, does he need to practice today? I was like, hell yeah, he needs to practice today. He was all one talking about how he needs to ramp it up and get ready for the season. And then lo and behold, we suffered a serious ankle injury.
He said that himself the day before, after the first joint practice against the Texans. I need to ramp it up a little bit. And then on the very first play in team periods of the second joint practice, boom, he went down. So, yeah. This is a guy he is a tremendous offensive lineman. He's never played a full regular season in his career. whether are we going to see him Sunday? I'm hopeful. He has said he was
Yes.
in Good Morning Football last week. My goal is to be ready. Mike McDaniel said today he's progressing well. Chances are it's entirely possible we won't until Sunday morning, if we're going to be honest about it. That's if I had to guess right now, he's going to be listed as questionable.
Does he change the line?
What line? You're talking about the betting line? You're talking about the offensive line?
Yes, the betting line clearly changes the offensive line. I'm referring to the betting line. Is Terron Armstead the type of player? Oh, he's out. It's declared on Saturday. He's out. Does he change the line at all?
It's a very good question. The fact that he's an offensive lineman, if it was the quarterback, I think a quarterback can move the line a lot more than an offensive lineman. But
Tyreek moves the line as well.
Tyreek would move the line. I think
Xavier Howard moves the line as well.
Maybe. And Armstead, maybe another guy who moves the line. Let's move on. The big news of the day, although I don't know if I'd call it news, because yeah, you know I have to do this.
Do not be disrespect. We are not going to put disrespect on Skylar Thompson's name today.
Okay,
we're going to keep it classy, but we're not going to disrespect Skylar Thompson.
And I'm not, and I would never disrespect Skylar Thompson. But to me, this again, what we're talking about is Mike McDaniel indicated, yes, he was asked and he revealed Mike White's going to be the number 2 quarterback. I kind of said a few times early in training camp on this podcast, I wasn't sure. I wasn't so sure I saw any competition there.
There was a battle. They were rotating every day up until the Atlanta practice week. Atlanta, Mike White got all the work. Then he started the game. The next week, it kind of went back-to-back Houston week. Then Skylar got most of the action. Then Mike White suffered a concussion. Skylar finished out the exhibition season and played poorly in the final game. Let's be honest. Skylar played poorly against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And
he came back after a bad start. Let's put it. Can we put it like that?
What'd you say?
It said he came back after a bad start. He threw 2 picks fairly early, and then after that,
he played poorly. He played poorly in that game. Any quarterback that throws 2 picks as badly as you throw through them in a single game played poorly. I'm not going to make excuses for him. He had the opportunity, in my mind, not Mike McDaniel's mind, because I always let's not pretend money was not a factor. Money and experience were a factor. Let's not pretend like it was not. Skylar had a small window of opportunity after his amazing performance against the Houston Texans to go in there and win the job, and he pooped it.
You're using my name in vain again? Oh, I'm sorry. Here's the thing, to me, beyond the financial aspect of it, is if you have Skylar on your team last year, who started some key games. He started the game, the regular season finale that they had to win to make the playoffs. He started the playoff game. Then
didn't play well in either.
Correct. I agree. But and that's part of my point is once then the decision is made, we can't keep Teddy Bridgewater around because he's too fragile behind our fragile starter. So if you have any sort of comfort level with Skylar Thompson as your number 2, to me at that point, when the Dolphins went out very early in free agency and signed Mike White, that tells you right then and there they're not comfortable with Skylar Thompson being their number.
Absolutely.
2. Okay, so then having said that, then you come into this situation, into the offseason program and training camp, where Mike White is up here. And for those listening, for those going to be listening,
here with what?
Audio podcast. Hold on. Mike White is at a much higher level than Skylar Thompson starting with this competition. It's funny because you and I had a little boxing conversation in the at the parking lot of the Baptist Health Training Complex, and I'm going to use a boxing analogy that Mike White came in as the defending champion for that backup job, and Skylar White needed to decisively beat him in training camp to overtake him.
You are correct.
And I don't think in any way,
you are 1,000% correct. And I would argue to you that Skylar might, if we were going a 12-round battle, 12-round match, I would argue to you we're at a 6-6 decision. No, except for the fact that Skylar got knocked down in the final round. And then it became a like a 10-8 scorecard.
It was a 10-8 round for
10-8 round.
Mike White.
I'm not going to say that Skyler had a legit chance to win the battle, but he had a chance to win the battle. And if he would have played like he played against Houston, against Jacksonville, you're telling me that they could look at that locker room and say, Mike White's our number 2? But he didn't.
But here's the thing, and you and I were at every single solitary training camp practice. I would make the argument that Skyler's best throws were probably more impressive than Mike White's best throws, and part of it is he's got a bigger arm.
Yes.
But I think in terms of consistency and getting the same thing practice to practice, there was a clear difference to me where you kind of get, what you get from Mike White every practice.
Oh yeah, you know what you got. It was a consistency,
Correct.
but Skyler was high and low, high and low, where Mike White was just here. Okay. Now, I don't have an issue with what was decided, why it was decided, and according to Mike McDaniel, it was experience. He needed a guy who knew the offense, and supposedly Mike White knew the offense because he'd been in the same system for 3 years. I talked to Mike about it before the decision was announced, and they need a guy who goes in and practice and plays well without reps. Okay, is that Skyler? It's not. Now, my thing is, I would have loved to have seen what Skyler can do with reps. However, those weren't the cards that he was dealt, nor the opportunity that he won. What I will say is, and hear me out on this, because hear me out on this. If God forbid something happens to Tua, and Dolphin fans knock on wood, because we don't want anything to happen to Tua, and he's out for a month, you're telling me that there won't be an open competition?
That's a good point. It's a good point. I will give you the good point. When their good point is made, we give it up. I could see that, but I would still say it's the same situation that Skyler will have to prove that Michael will start with an advantage, is the way I would phrase it.
Absolutely. Skyler will have the opportunity, but he will have to knock out Mike White. And he did not do that in the exhibition season. He had an opportunity, but he didn't. And it is what it is. We are where we are. And I'm okay with where they are as a backup quarterback. It is what it is.
No, there's not a team in the NFL, and this is the discussion that I always have. There's not a team in the NFL where if the starting quarterback goes down, there's not a drop off. Obviously, there's a reason where you have a starter and you have a backup. Like, for example, if something happens to Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs are in trouble. Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, same deal. Josh Allen, Buffalo, same deal. And the Dolphins are in the same boat.
Dallas wasn't bad without Dak Prescott for a stretch.
And then reality set in.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Dolphins were just as good with Matt Moore as they were with Ryan Tannehill. I ain't gonna say nothing about it, but hey, it is what it is.
Wasn't Matt Moore as good a quarterback as Ryan Tannehill, if not better? I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Ryan Tannehill's a $200 million man, so hey.
Why I'll never know. But to me, goes back a little bit in time. But Matt Moore, if you recall, came in for Chad Henne in 2011, played pretty damn well. The Dolphins got off to an 0-6 start. They wound up going 5-4 down the stretch, and Matt Moore was playing really good quarterback. And then the following year, they never gave him a shot. And then it was Matt Moore, David Garrard, and Ryan Tannehill, and they wound up giving
two coaches never gave him a shot. Then you got the Adam Gase, where Ryan Tannehill goes down, and Adam basically sees what Matt Moore did, leading the team to the playoffs, but knew, and this is facts. This is not opinion. This is facts. He knew that Matt Moore wouldn't do what he wanted him to do as a coach, where Adam Gase wanted a quarterback who literally, these are the Madden plays I call, this is where I want you to go. And that's the quarterback that he wanted. And he knew Matt Moore would not do that. Matt Moore played a wild stallion. I'm going to wing it, swing it, call my audibles, call route adjustments. And he was not comfortable with coaching that for an entire season. So he needed Smoking Jay Cutler. Now, to parlay this question, can the Dolphins have, and answer this question, I want an answer from you.
Uh-oh.
Dolphins have to play 5 games without Tua Tagovailoa for whatever reason. What's the record?
Who are they playing?
Wow, you gonna do me like that?
Oh, I am absolutely going to do you like that.
Okay, they're playing all 3 AFC East teams, and then throw in give me a second, let me figure out the schedule. Throw in the Raiders.
Okay. 2 quick points I'm going to make. Okay. Number one, Mike White's pretty much his only preseason appearance. Didn't go well, and people are going to dump on it because, well, they got in the red zone, but it couldn't finish. And again, he made a really poor decision on the 1 pick. And then the other 2 was pressure basically got to him and his arm was hit as he threw a 4th down incompletion. The other one wound up hitting the helmet of a D lineman.
This again.
Yes, this again, because I want to say that his 1% appearance wasn't really that bad. Okay, going off to your second question, and I'm sure you're bringing that up because or maybe you don't know, but I brought up at this time last year where if Teddy Bridgewater has to come into a game, there would not be as much of a drop off as a lot of people. And you're rolling your head and you're freezing. That makes for quite the visual right there. Now you're back. The point that I made, and with the very important caveat that people always forget when they give me crap about the statement that I made, is that Teddy would have to take the starter reps in practice, and that Terron Armstead would have to be in a lineup. He never ever had those 2 factors. Okay, and now, hold on. I am not going to make the same statement because I don't think that Mike White and Skylar Thompson are at the same level as Teddy Bridgewater in terms of being proven quarterback. So there's a clear difference. The question I have, and again, I relate it to every quarterback in the NFL, what's the gap between your offense with your starter, your offense with your number 2? That's the big question. And I don't know. Sorry?
It's a massive gap.
Is it bigger than the gap in KC if Mahomes goes on and the number 2 and Blaine Gabbert has to play? Is it a bigger gap than Josh Allen from Josh Allen to Case Keenum? Is it a bigger gap than Joe Burrow to, I don't even know who their backup quarterback is, Trevor Siemian maybe? So that's my point. The Dolphin offense will suffer. There's no question. That's going to happen to every team in the NFL. I just don't know that the gap is as big for the Dolphins in terms of going from 1 to 2 as a lot of the other contenders in the AFC. To answer your question, if there are no injuries on the other side and it becomes Mike White versus Aaron Rodgers, Mike White versus Josh Allen, yeah, those are tough games to win. Doesn't mean they can't win them, but those are tough. They should still beat the Raiders at Hard Rock Stadium, even with Mike White.
Washington, they should still beat Washington. Tennessee, maybe, depending on whether Tannehill's a starter or if they're moved on to a rookie quarterback. Let's get into some of the other news of the day.
Okay.
We've hashed it out on the quarterback situation. Neither one of us is comfortable, but it is what it is. They could have gone not thrift store shopping. Can we agree they went semi-thrift store shopping for a backup quarterback? I mean, but we wanted them to go even cheaper. I wanted a rookie. I wanted a Tennessee quarterback. It is what it is. Hey, Hayden Hooker, I wanted him. I would have used a draft. I would have used a 3rd-round pick on him.
Yeah, but did you want what, Tua, Skylar Thompson, and Hendon Hooker, who, by the way, is going to spend the year on NFI.
I don't care.
Like an Andy Dalton or somebody like that. Personally, that was my.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want Andy Dalton. I want a young quarterback who can be groomed with a lot more upside. But let's move on.
You know, we have to get to your dude, man. I can't believe we waited so long to get to your dude, Robbie Chosen.
Hey, man, he's a practice squad player, baby. He's on the practice squad. And I'm not taking a victory lap about that. Does he deserve to be on the practice squad? In my opinion, no. But I understand because River Craycraft, as Tyreek says in today's press conference, River Craycraft knows all 3 spots and knows how to play it, and blocks like a monster and is a special teams guy. And I think he's a core special teams guy. I underestimated River Craycraft. I will say that. Now, is Robbie there and a valuable piece? Absolutely. But I don't think you see him come into the equation unless one of the top 2 starters goes down, because there is no other receiver on this team that could replace one of the top 2 starters other than, in my opinion, Robbie Chosen, just because of the speed element, the veteran savviness. You putting Eric Uzukama out there? No. You putting
Cedric Wilson.
Preston Wilson? Yeah, I almost forgot his name.
Cedric Wilson.
Cedric Wilson, not Preston Wilson. Same thing. You putting Cedric Wilson out there? No. You might put River Craycraft out there, but and Braxton Berrios is always going to be out there as a slot receiver. But River Craycraft, talent-wise, Robbie Chosen, and I don't want to be disrespectful to River Craycraft, but you haven't started 87 games in the NFL as an undrafted player, which is very hard to do. I'm glad to see that Robbie is back. I want him to continue to learn this offense because I think that was one of the factors that sort of stood in his way in terms of contributing. But I know what the deal is, and he's here because he wants to be here. He really does want to be here. And let's see if he can make an impact at some point this season.
No, and there's a very high level trust level with River Craycraft. You mentioned that. And it was interesting you referenced Tyreek Hill talking about him, and it became with this little competition that they had with him and Jalen Waddle, and each had a team of wide receivers, and then they bet like a group dinner based on points accumulated in training camp. And River Craycraft was Tyreek Hill's first pick, and he pointed out that the reason was you'd get a point for a big play or lining up in the right spot or throwing a good block. And with River Craycraft, yes, you're always going to get the lining up in the right spot. You're going to get the good block. And this talks about the trust level that Mike McDaniel can have in this guy, and this is why he made the team. The thing that's going to be interesting to me, right now they have 6 wide receivers on the roster, so I don't see any way where Chosen would be elevated. The thing that's going to be interesting to me is if any of the 5 guys, other than Ezukama, get injured and the Dolphins want to have to replace one, are they going to do what they did last year? Remember they elevated Craycraft and Ezukama was inactive. So is there going to be a case where they're going to elevate Robbie Chosen from the practice squad and leave Ezukama inactive, or is Ezukama actually going to have a role in 2023?
Right now, I think Robbie Chosen's value to this team is that he's going to help the defense get ready for each week's opposition, and that's a phenomenal ad just from the standpoint of a savvy veteran. He could play an alpha receiver for every single team in the NFL. And it's going to help you. So, but that doesn't lead to him knowing the game plan. And so this has got to be an injury in the week that they began the week with and allowed you to practice and pray and prep. But best of luck to Robbie in whatever happens, because there's no guarantee he'll be here for an entire season. Other NFL teams could suffer an injury and then be like, yo, we need to go, check out Robbie Chosen. We'll see what happens. Also,
hold on one quick second, if I may, because there are some teams around the league. I know the Eagles, for example, are on the lookout for a wide receiver. And this is where the rule where vested veteran salaries are fully guaranteed if they're on a week 1 active roster could come into play, where you could see Chosen getting poached.
Yes.
After week 1.
I don't think you don't have to. Do you have to poach a guy off the practice squad, or can you just sign a guy off the practice squad?
Well, that's the same deal.
No, but if you poach a guy, then you have to guarantee him a month on your 53.
That's the same thing as signing a guy off a practice squad. That's poaching.
Wow. Okay. So basically, I'd have to keep whoever signs him has to keep him on their 53 for a month.
For 4 weeks.
It's for 4 weeks. Yes.
I mean, it's 3 weeks actually. It's 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, you're the one that usually knows all the technicalities like these things.
No, but I could see that happening after week 1, where his contract no longer is going to be fully guaranteed. That easily could happen. And I know Detroit's also on the lookout for a wide receiver. So those could be 2 possibilities for him. We talked about Mike McDaniel naming Mike White as a new number 2 quarterback. The one thing he would not declare was Isaiah Wynn being the starting left guard. And or actually the question was, he's going to take the first team reps at left guard. And his answer was something along the lines of maybe he takes the first team reps and then maybe he doesn't play in the game. Or, he just kind of gave a funny answer dancing around it.
Honestly, it was probably the most critical I've ever heard Mike McDaniel on a player. Because it wasn't like a glowing answer about a player. It wasn't even an endorsement. It was like, yeah, he might take all the reps and then might not play. And I took that. I didn't see the smirk on his face at the end that some other reporters were,
I saw the smirk. Yeah.
There was a smirk. So was the smirk like, I'm joking? Or the smirk was, I'm not answering your question? I didn't see the
That was a smirk. The smirk was like, you want to find out? Tune in on Sunday, as some have done before. There was literally a coach one time said basically tune in on Sunday. And I was like, oh my Lord, really? And this is where, competitive advantage for really.
I think the first month of the season is Isaiah Wynn tryout as a starting left guard. I really don't see Liam Eichenberg getting that spot back, but then you've got Robert Jones and Lester Cotton. When they get healed up, what are they going to do? But I've said it from the very beginning of training camp, the Dolphins have not been pleased, happy, confident with what they've seen from anybody at that position, and that includes Isaiah Wynn. This is a guy with 40 NFL starts for the New England Patriots, a physical running team, one of the teams that's coached by one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, and he hasn't been able to lock down a starting spot despite being relatively healthy. Like, what's that about? And I'm not judging him one way or the other because this is a new scheme. A wide zone is something that he's never played. But like we need to see more. Same thing with safeties. We need to see more. I'm trying to see what other positions we need to see more at.
Pretty much it. I mean,
tight end.
It's Terron Smythe, and when they go two tight ends, Tyler Croft. There's no mystery there.
It is not Tyler Croft. It is Alec Ingold. Stop lying.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Jesus. Hence why, and I said when they go two tight end.
Yeah. I mean, Alec Ingold is a two tight end. He's a second tight end too. Don't deceive the people.
Whenever I will believe it when I see TE next to his name on the roster or FB/T. Right now he's just FB. So, but we're getting into semantics here. The bottom line is I don't know that there's a whole lot of really like position battles that remain open. I think that's pretty much set. I am curious to see what they do at safety opposite Javon Holland against the Chargers because the Chargers are a different team than what the Dolphins are going to face in week 2 against New England, which is going to be a lot more run-oriented. Chargers are going to be pass-happy. So it wouldn't surprise me if you saw, as you mentioned last week, Verone McKinley in the starting lineup instead of Deshaun Elliott, based on his coverage skills.
Absolutely. We should get into some of these captains and the captain decision. You were here last year. I can tell you that captaincy has always been something that intrigues me because I thought leadership was always or usually a sore spot on this roster for many years, with the exception of Chad Pennington and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I will argue to you this year that I like the captains. Not Ryan Tannehill. Tua Tagovailoa was named the captain for second.
You used the two names in the same sentence. Sorry, go ahead.
Tua Tagovailoa was a captain for the second straight year. Christian Wilkins was named the captain. I believe this was his third captaincy. He had it for a year during Flores and then lost it for a year and then got it back.
Correct.
See, look at me correcting you.
Very
that rarely ever
happens. Say anything wrong, but you are correct.
Javon Holland, second year as a captain. We got Tyreek, second year as a captain here. I think he's been a multi-year captain with the Chiefs as well. Tyreek loves being a captain because he loves the vocal aspect of it. And I think that that's an important element of being a captain, is to bring that not only leadership by, the years when we had Cameron Wake as a captain. Was Cameron Wake a captain, in your opinion? Answer the question.
Oh, no.
I'm going to have to start treating you like a hostile witness from time to time. Because I ask you these questions. We are the truth-telling podcast. And then you're sitting there like, I can't tell the truth about Cameron Wake. I have to treat you now as a hostile witness. Cameron Wake was a good guy, a hard worker, a guy who did things by example, but when it came time to step up and speak up and be a leader, ghost.
My perception of Wake was always, you mentioned he worked hard. I mean, that's putting it very, very mildly. If you ever saw the guy without a shirt, I mean, Jesus, holy smokes. The muscles had muscles. I mean, that dude was put together. And never had an issue with him. To me, but he struck me as a guy as I'm going to worry about my job, focus on my job, do everything I can to do my job to the best of my ability, and then whatever happens, happens.
That's it.
Whereas there are
what happens.
Yeah. Wherever there are some guys, I will not let the team lose if I have to go like kick some butt
Play
in
cornerback.
different rooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
do you remember, let's go down memory lane, when we were badgering Adam Gase about why Cam Wake's play count and play snaps were like down for months. And then eventually Gase was like, yo, he chooses when he goes in and out of games. I don't have anything to do with his play count. And then we're like, we go to Wake and we're like, yo, what's up with this? We've been campaigning for you to get more snaps. And here's Adam Gase. He's saying that you choose when you come in and out of games. And he was basically like, yep. And they were like, oh, man.
Yeah. No, he's an interesting dude.
Yeah, he was an interesting dude. We're like, for months, we're like, why is Cameron Wake playing so few snaps? Why isn't Cameron Wake playing more? What's his defensive coordinator doing? Are they trying to shake down Cameron Wake? And then Gase is like, listen, it's not me, it's him. And then we go to Wake, and Wake's like, yeah, okay, I'm guilty. And we're like, oh, come on, bro.
See, when I remember about Cameron Wake is because I'm a selfish dude who thinks only about myself. It'd be in the locker room on a Friday afternoon. And
oh my God, the haircut.
We're closing the locker room, and then we're all waiting. Well, is Cam going to talk to us? Yeah, he'll talk to you guys, but it's going to be after his haircut. And we're like, are we sure, really? And this was not a one-time occurrence.
No, it was not a one-time occurrence.
So.
And Cam always had the whack fade where it's like it was a horrible fade. No offense to his barber. Hopefully it wasn't Kane's barber. But it was it was a mohawk, and the fade was horrible. There was no fade. It was just a mohawk and bald. And I was like, man, I could have cut your hair for that. Anyway, let's keep on moving.
Okay. We were running down the list of the captains. Terron Armstead, a captain again. I mean, if you looked under the picture of prototypical captain in the dictionary, you're going to see Terron Armstead's picture right there. Highly, highly respected everybody. I think he's not afraid to speak. He's going to mentor guys. And on defense, you mentioned Christian Wilkins. There's also Javon Holland, and also on offense, Alec Ingold, fullback / tight end, Alec Ingold. Oh my God.
But imagine hold on. Let's put some respect on this, because this is a player voting situation.
I love Alec Ingold.
But I'm just saying, every Dolphin fan, like, they've known from week 1 of training camp, I'm like, hold on, who is this Alec Ingold dude? Like, bro, he can play. And for players to put respect on his name like that, think about it. Just think about it. There's a lot of things you folks have not seen from this offense yet, because they don't show you everything in preseason. And if you weren't out there at practice, and then there was a period where he wasn't practicing, but when he was practicing, I was like, holy smokes, who is this dude? And him coming back from a year, and I talked to him about this. He was like, yeah, I didn't feel like myself. I didn't know if I could trust the knee. I was trying to work to get back to myself. He's like, now I feel like myself. I feel like a boss. And I'm like, bro, you are playing like you are a very unique tool to have in your tool shed. Like, one of those tools, I'm into gardening. It's like one of those tools that can not only edge, but can weed whack, and then, and hell, you can put some wheels on it. It can mow your lawn too. I'm like, I love Alec Ingold.
I know. Then I was about to say that, and that was the beginning of a beautiful love affair between the two of you. For those keeping score, it's 7 captains again for the second consecutive year. The only change is Ingold's a captain, and the one who's not a captain because he's no longer with the Dolphins, that's Landon Roberts, who, say what you want about him, he's a guy whose play was criticized when he was here, a lot of times unfairly, but he was a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're one of those who are like a good riddance, they upgraded the position with David Long Jr. instead of him for the Vic Fangio scheme, maybe, but don't think you didn't lose something in terms of leadership.
Yes.
And Landon Roberts
be pointed out that both Jerome Baker, I'm not letting him off the hook, and David Long, who have to serve as leaders of that defense and play callers of that defense, neither one of them were named captains. What does that mean? I don't know. I also don't like the fact that there isn't a special teams captain. I need to know who I need to hold accountable for special teams.
You wouldn't understand. I'm saying little inside joke here. It
Only
should
Joe Chad is going to get that. Only
it
Joe
should
Chad
be-
in our meeting.
No, everybody in the media room is going to get it. It should be understood that Alec Ingold did play special teams last year. He played like 134 snaps, is what I recall seeing. But I don't think you could call him a special teams core guy per se. Those would be like Duke Riley, Andrew Van Ginkel type of guys. And to me, we were talking earlier that maybe those could be guys who would be special teams captain, but no. And that's the second consecutive year didn't have a special teams captain either last year. So does it mean anything in the grand scheme of things? No, probably not. But and in terms of David Long Jr., usually for a newcomer to be named a captain in his first year with the team, it's got to be somebody who's like a highly respected elder guy, elder statements, accomplished player, or an absolute baller like Tyreek Hill last year.
And Landon Roberts was a captain his very first year here with the Dolphins.
That's a very good point. But was that a player vote or was that Brian Flores vote? Because
I can't remember.
Brian Flores was the one who brought him from New England, and Brian Flores loved. I mean, he loved the Landon Roberts more than you love Alec Ingold, if you can imagine that.
Yes. And you need those guys. You need the guys who are going to hold people accountable and be in their face. And Landon Roberts was that guy. I need part of my priority this week is I need to know who I'm going to hold accountable for special teams this season. And I got to go in that locker room and find whoever that dude is. If that dude's Duke Riley, if it's somebody's got to be held accountable for what happens on special teams every single week. And we'll figure it out.
I'll be on the lookout for you. Anything else about you? We spoke today to Tyreek, Javon Holland, and Christian Wilkins. Nothing particularly earth-shattering about what they said. Tyreek Hill joked that he didn't get a suspension because the 2 days he missed from practice last week, he was mowing the commissioner's lawn. And then he was very quick to say, I'm just joking. We didn't confirm with him, though. We probably should have that, whether he was indeed in New York for those 2 days that he missed, which kind of would make sense considering when the decision came down.
Yeah. So. It is what it is. Tyreek's not suspended. Let's keep moving. I hope we don't have another incident like that. And Tyreek has talked about maturity. Tyreek's a $30 million player a year as long as he continues to stay healthy and keep his nose out of trouble. I think Tyreek is not about messing up his money. So let's hope that we have a maturation.
And
so that he can actually afford to go on the vacations that he's now going on vacations for, so that he can actually decide that he wants to continue playing past the contract expiration, which I personally believe he will have years added to his contract this offseason so that they can buy some cap space. But that's another subject for a later day. Yes. We want to thank you for coming.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I mean to cut you off, but hold on. Tyreek and also Mike McDaniel kind of semi-indirectly addressed the Charger games from last year, and I think that would be a good place for us to start tomorrow. Dolphins are off tomorrow. Amen. I think that would be a good place to start revisiting that game from last year and what it could mean, and the differences and the adjustments and all that good stuff. Before then, though, another thank you to you guys for watching. Download, subscribe, share, tell a friend. We're on the Fans First Sports Network. Under Miami Dolphins Insider for those who like their audio podcasts. And I think that's going to wrap it up. Omar?
Yes, we want to tell you to bookmark alldolphins.com. Just put it in alldolphins.com. You can find both our work there, 50 years of experience for free.
Free. Talk to you tomorrow.